Today we're talking to Eddie from Kibly. Now, the goal of this conversation is to get you more Amazon reviews. Since the review policy changed in October 2016, sellers have been hard pressed to find ways to get customer reviews, which are as valuable as ever and more valuable since this policy update took place. So we're going to show you how to get them in a way that is in accordance with Amazon policy, which basically boils down to getting sales and then following up with customers using Amazon's buyer-seller messaging system. We talk about exactly what to say to customers, how often to send them messages, what each message should contain. So by the time you're done here, you'll have an actionable plan about how to get more reviews. And it's really something big that a lot of sellers worry about. And after watching this, you won't have to worry about it anymore. So yeah, if you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. It's Asteroid Aim, asteroidaim.com, and enjoy this one. Me, Eddie, let's go. I would officially like to welcome Eddie to the show. Eddie from Kibly. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So Kibly is feedback software. You can get feedback from it. You can contact shoppers through your buyer-seller messaging system on
That's right.
Amazon. This is, I think, more important now than ever because as of October 2016, Amazon has banned incentivized reviews. So sellers still need reviews, however. So this need is very strong and it exists. And if you can go from like 0 to 1 review, like that's great. Like that has a huge effect on your sales. So I guess the point of this talk is like, well, how do we use the buyer-seller messaging system, and other tools to get the reviews? And I guess you were talking though how it was important to build relationships with customers. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Sure. Well, I mean, the first thing I'll say is that really the customer relationship at this point is really all we have, and Amazon has coaxed us into that reality with all of their new terms of service, that are preventing us from coming up with creative ways, to convince the customer to leave us good reviews and feedback and stuff, because obviously that's the lifeblood of any high selling Amazon account are the reviews and the feedback. So at this point, it really comes down to just base level communication. You want to create some kind of connection with your customers. I mean, if you think about it, anytime you go out there and you go to a shop, or let's say a mom and pop compared to, let's say, a big chain, and you just love going to that mom and pop because you just love talking to the person behind the desk, and they're just so friendly to you, and they know stuff about you, and they just it just gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling, right? That's what keeps you going back there, more so than the quality of the products that they're selling you. And in a way, it kind of does apply in e-commerce as well. Of course, you don't have the same experience shopping with e-commerce as you do with a brick and mortar store. What you really have are just words, right? Just literally written words on an email, which amounts to only 7% of human communication. You can't factor in body language or anything else like that, or tone of voice or anything like that. It's really just words. So when you're left with only that, that's where you got to understand it's about the conversation, right? That's your only avenue now. And so I feel that it's lost on a lot of sellers that needs to be a number one priority. You have to almost reverse engineer the whole process. If you want your store to sell more, you need to connect more with your customers. Just organically, that's really what it leads to. You focus on building that relationship and having your customers feel compelled to support your business by taking the time to leave you a review or positive feedback, or even be a repeat customer. That's really what's going to continue roping them in, is that impression. So I would say it's the number one most important thing for Amazon sellers, especially now more than ever. You can't bribe them anymore. Unfortunately, that was the easy way to do it. But,
yep.
Amazon doesn't allow that anymore. So we really have to play that game.
Good. Yeah. I mean, it's the right thing to do in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, that
Um,
too.
so okay, I get where you're going with this. You have, Amazon obviously does not allow you to email customers directly. You need to go through the Amazon platform. You
Right.
need to contact them on the buyer seller messaging uh, platform itself. So, and you only have text, as you said.
Mhm.
So, it's a pretty narrow window of communication. Um, so, let's say, for as an example, someone buys something from your store. Um, what's the first thing that you say to them?
Well, I mean, obviously they want to know the status of their order.
Okay,
That's you have to give them that first.
yeah,
Of course, you want to notify them, keep them updated on everything, and taking the time to do that, I think is really, I mean, it's required.
like in regards to that, so does Amazon has built-in customer notifications.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're sending something in addition to that, I guess, when it's shipped, or
Yeah, so when we not every I think it depends, on the kind of account you have with Amazon. I know with FBA sellers, generally Amazon does handle a lot of the customer notification.
yeah.
For resellers or for like smaller sellers, I don't believe so. I think it all kind of falls on them, especially if they self-fulfill.
It
So
does. Okay,
they'll know when it's shipped before Amazon does
that makes
because
sense. Yeah,
Amazon's not
Amazon.
doing the shipping. So yeah, and of course, there's different ways to go about it, whether you're a private labeler or, a reseller or whatever it is. But of course, yeah, I mean, notifying them on the status of their order. But what's kind of fun to do, that in my experience is, sort of coattailing a message like that with giving some value to your customer right off the bat. Now, obviously value not in the form of a coupon code in exchange for a review, right? But you could
uh,
totally give them a coupon code just because,
yep.
you know, that of course Amazon's okay with. They're very customer centric. So as an Amazon seller, if you too are customer centric, you will get along famously with Amazon's guidelines. And if you're able to just throw value at them just because you love them, just because you want to be awesome to them, that right there is obviously a great first step, right? In developing that kind of connection, just kind of going above and beyond for your customers, compelling them to want to support you in return, right? And there are obviously different ways you can go about that. A coupon code obviously is a simple way to do it. There are ways you can just offer value in terms of information. Let's say there's this particular type of product that your customer is buying that may not be the simplest thing to use. So you want to give them a very comprehensive, easy to understand guide on how to get the most out of that product. And you're just giving that to them just because, so that they don't have to figure it out on their own. Even little things like that, are all contribute to that end. And again, with every email, you can get creative. Obviously, you want to put your own branded voice on it, right? But at the same time, you can incorporate all these different, unique, creative ways of giving them value. Like I said, either like a tutorial or some kind of article that gives them just even more information on how to get the best use out of their product. Anything like that you can come up with that you feel like if you were a customer, you would appreciate getting just because. I mean, it's all fair game and it's all recommended, really. And, taking that kind of time really does pay dividends, especially when you're offering that personal touch to everybody who buys from you. I mean, this is the customer ecosystem is really what runs things these days. Their opinions are what matter the most to other customers, and you obviously want them saying only good things about you. So again, going back to that sort of human communication aspect, right? And opening that kind of that communication, that connection will get them organically just talking about it, because they'll know that you didn't have to do that.
Yeah. So great. So you recommend it like as soon as shipped, whether you're
To
like an
start, yeah.
right, right, FBM or FBA seller, just says something like, your order's been shipped, it's on its way to you now, it'll arrive in, X number of days approximately.
Sure.
Oh, but, by the way, you know, you bought this from us, so you might like, here's a discount on whatever. So that's the coupon code thing. How are you guys handling like files these days? Like if you wanted to share a guide with them or an article, how do you point them to that without breaking TOS or whatever?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, you can't put any kind of hyperlink that will redirect them outside of the Amazon domain, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in situations like that, this is kind of where it does get sort of, you do kind of have to get your hands dirty, as it were, even if it comes down to just typing it up yourself or providing a screenshot or, a lot of, yeah, like a lot of, I mean, and smart elements, of course, are allowed in their emails that there are different ways you can use that. With Kibly, we have built-in smart elements, that make it pretty much as easy as you possibly can to get the customer to basically decide what star they want to rate you, and and we'll get to that in a moment. But aside from that, I mean, you can really just create manually some kind of blog or just something in there that just gives them a little bit more of that value. And of course, effective copy is important. You want to give them something they know that they're going to really need to read. You don't want to just give them just willy-nilly, just paragraphs of information that they'll just overload them, because long copy is good, but long-winded copy is not good. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, when it's shipped is obviously when you want them to when you want to send out your first email. Just saying, like, putting in like manually taking the time to manually create a template that has like an article or something that you have written or that you borrowed from wherever, as long as there are no hyperlinks in there. It's all within Amazon's guidelines. It just really is an invitation to get creative, and I think that desire to be creative when it comes to giving value to your customers, right, comes from a priority or making it a priority to connect with them. I don't think I've dealt with multiple users, for Kibly that are Amazon sellers that had really didn't even realize that they need to just be awesome to their customers. Like maybe they just want to know when it was shipped, and we'll tell them when it arrived, and we're good, right? It's like, well, not really. What you really need is you need to create that sort of add that human element to it, and no one likes getting information from a machine, right, or anything that appears robotic. So it's like, just be a human being. That's all you got to do. Almost speak it as if you were speaking it yourself to them. That's a good way to approach email copy. Is make it conversational.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree. Okay, so you hit them once when it's shipped. You provide some sort of value, discount, informational, something along those lines. Any other things that you guys like to use in terms of a value add for that first one, or is that pretty much cover the bases in terms of the discount and the information?
Sure. Well, now this, of course, leaves it open to interpretation as far as when you want to start putting in those little gold nuggets, right, for your buyers. But generally, when that first email notifying them when it's shipped can either be the first time that you say, oh, and by the way, like you said, you bought this product from us. We have some great information for you on really how to get the most out of it. We're really excited for you to get it, But of course, the closer it comes to them actually receiving the product, they'll retain more information like that more effectively, right? Like if their product arrives and then they get that email, and then boom, they have all that information for them right there. that's right there is the perfect opportunity for them to be like, got my product, got this information, let's see what we can do here, you know? And of course it varies. And this is kind of where split testing really does come in handy. Every seller obviously has a very different way of going about their business. They have very different types of products. You know, if as a seller, if you know your product, you really have to think about yourself as the customer. You know, you receive this product. What's the first thing you'd like to know on how to use it, right? Or what are some what would you appreciate if someone were to give you you know, different types of advice, or like you know, fun things that they can do with it that they otherwise wouldn't know, right? You really put yourself through that process, kind of reverse engineer it, and then just apply it in each step. So yeah, I mean, if you want, you can include a coupon code when it's shipped, because they're kind of fresh in the buying mode, right? Because they bought something recently, it's shipped. Oh, coupon code, I'm gonna buy something else, you know? Or sometimes, you know, some sellers like to include the coupon code in like the third follow-up email, for example, you know, basically saying we very much appreciate you you purchasing from us, and you know, it really keeps our business going, you know. And then if in there you want to include if you want to include any more information on there that they could use, and then you can just say, next time, you know, you're ready to buy, here is a coupon code, right? But then you would have to ask, as far as asking for the review, it's more important to do that after you send out an email like that. You really don't want to include asking for the review in the same email with the discount code, obviously, because it appears like you're wanting an exchange there.
Right. And also probably just one ask at a time, right?
Of course.
Is just simpler to follow. Okay, so the first email when it's shipped. Second email is when, and what does it say?
Well, your second email can be as soon as an hour after it was shipped. I mean, you know, again, it depends. It depends. I know with the Kibly system, you can send it as soon as an hour after it's shipped, and it can be scheduled in hourly increments, you know, or daily increments. But Kibly does offer a one-click automatic schedule that has worked in the founding team's Amazon businesses, and exhaustively, you know, tested and proven to work. So we offer that so that you don't even have to think about it. And generally this kind of thing, you know, you do want to experiment in order to find out what works best. So that's why we offer the chance to take advantage of our experimentation and just use the one-click scheduler that we offer there. And with, you know, depending on whether you're a private labeler or a reseller, if you're a private labeler, generally it's 3 emails. You send it when it's shipped, and then the next email is about 3 days later. And the final email, basically the ask, is 5 days later. And if you're
after the 3-day one is sent, is that right?
5 days after when it was shipped.
Oh, okay, all right. So basically ship day is like, you know, day 0, and then you send another one 3 days after that, and then at the 5-day mark.
Yes, exactly.
So and
you actually can set it up within Kibly to as far as like the reference on when to send it is either when it was shipped or when it was delivered. So we do offer either one. Again, depends. If you're a private labeler and you sell an FBA, they're pretty effective, you know, with shipping. It's generally like 1 to 2 days that they go out. So, but if you're, you know, if it's fulfilled by a merchant and you understand, you know, what your as far as like your shipping times, delivery times, and all that stuff, then you can actually tailor the sequence to fit. You know, if you know on average it takes about 5 to 7 days for a product to reach the customer, then you can actually schedule it accordingly.
Right. Okay, yeah. I'll go forth with the assumption that most people are FBA who are watching. So when it's shipped, it's the value add, and I guess presumably on day 5 is the ask, like the review ask.
Right.
So what's the content of day 3 look like generally?
Sure. Well, day 3, typically the templates that we use. In fact, I can actually just as a reference point. I won't be able to show you, but I can at least just take a look and give you guys more or less a sort of an outline of what it's about. The second email generally is sent after they've received their item, and they know that it arrived safely and it's in good condition and everything. And what you can actually do is ask them just to confirm that they had received their item and that everything is in good shape, and that if there's anything that they need to know as far as the condition of the item when it arrived or whatever, it's like, as a seller, we do want to know about that, because if there's a problem, we want to rectify it. So this is the second email is generally an invitation on asking, is everything to your liking? Because we do want to know that. That is very important to us. Right. Right. And then generally the third email, like I said, is when it's kind of a follow-up, checking in, how much are you loving this product? We want to know, that also is very important to us. And of course, if you're an FBA seller, for example, you could offer some information there. Like, now that they've received their product, right, you can start giving them, like, here's a great article on how to, like 25 creative things you can do with your fidget spinner, for example, and, like, we want you to obviously have fun with it and get the most out of it. And once you've offered that, then it's like, you can ask. So at that point, you have given them all the value you possibly can. And you're like, all right, well, now we got to ask, because if you don't ask, you won't get it usually. So in fact, I'm taking a look right now at our third email template, and it's generally, very straightforward as far as just, we want to make sure that they're enjoying their product. Of course, if there's any kind of issues, we want to let them know that we'll take care of them right away. And we want to make sure that everything is working great. And if they are working great, then we just kind of ask for the favor at that point. Please let us know how great it's working for you. Here is usually we put in a smart element that'll have 5 stars. And it's as simple as whichever star they want to click on, we'll redirect them to actually making that on the actual review.
Right. Okay. So are you, the second one was sort of a question, is everything to your liking? Do you find that customers are responding to that, or they just sort of see it and move on, or what's?
Well, oftentimes, if when a customer does respond to an email like that, they will sometimes think that they're leaving a review by responding to that email.
That's cute.
And sometimes that can actually be a good thing, because if someone is not happy with it, and let's just say they leave you an unfavorable review in the form of an email response,
yep,
at least they did it there, and it didn't officially tack on to your Amazon store. In a way, it actually has worked as kind of siphoning off,
right.
Like what would potentially be, a bad review or bad seller feedback, just by answering to that email. And of course, it's also an invitation for you to rectify the situation.
Yeah.
And it gives you a chance to understand exactly what they want, solve their problem, make them happy about it. And then that would actually warrant asking for the review after that, once they're happy again with you and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So, it's very, the data is so all over the place as far as behavior, with different sellers getting different types of responses from customers. But generally we use like FBA sellers as kind of our main reference point, and that's usually what happens, with that second email, or, if people are loving the product and they respond positively, that's a chance for you to be like, great, we're so happy about that. That's awesome. Would you please do us a favor? We want to make sure that, we want to immortalize this, right? How you feel about our product. We want the world to know, and then of course, you can refer them to the review link.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, so we were sort of in the context of the the day 5 email where the goal is to, get the review, assuming they're happy with it, right? Day 3 they said something nice, or maybe they didn't say anything. But so day 5, we're approaching them with this ask. It's a little bit of a touchy subject because like reviews are still, Amazon wants to make sure that sellers are doing it right. So what would you recommend, I guess, for how to actually ask for the review?
Sure. Well, what I actually can do is I can read a little that particular portion from one of our templates, just as to give you an example, and to also kind of illustrate how it does kind of focus more on the conversational aspect of the ask, and it keeps it, and of course, how it obviously stays within Amazon's rules. So as far as just that part, they've got the email. We're letting them know, like, really hope you're enjoying your, let's just say, fidget spinner. I mean, I can't really think of Amazon products without fidget spinners these days. Thanks, fidget spinners. So, it's like, I hope you're enjoying your fidget spinner. Of course, if there's a problem, please let us know. We'll get it taken care of as soon as possible. But we just wanted to check in and make sure that it's still working great for you. And if they are, if you could please do us a favor, your review will help us to continue selling these fidget spinners, for example, right? And as well as keep the best possible customer service for these. And obviously, we want to earn your good review. So if you're up for it, please click the link below to leave a review. We thank you so much in advance, and it really does mean a lot. Okay. And so, like I said, right there, doesn't sound like a cold email, right? That definitely sounds like something you could verbally speak to somebody, right? And I mean, we've been like those particular type of templates, those are available to all Kibly users as a starting point. And you can actually use them with absolutely no customization, and still, they're powerful enough to bring you more reviews than you would get otherwise. But of course, it's always recommended to add your own, sprinkle your own personal branding on it. Right. But as a starting point, I mean, they're all very informal, very conversational. And in that particular email, there's no incentivization or anything that could really allude to that. It's really just the ask, and on its own, it's clear, it's concise, and it's conversational.
Yeah, clear, concise, and conversational. Yeah.
The 3 C's that I just made up.
Yeah, it works. It works for me. So yeah, okay, yeah, because I've heard of sellers getting dinged for like asking for a positive review or a 5-star review, or right. If you've had a 5-star experience, and it's like, ugh, like that's a little, it's pushing it for sure. I don't believe that's allowed, but yeah, concise, clear, conversational. We'll go with that. It's a very good summary.
Sure, and I mean, it is mentioned in the email that it's important that we earn your good review, but if you could just please leave us a review. Just keep it ambiguous enough, Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, good. So, as I understand it, the average conversion rates to reviews, if you don't send any communication at all, is like 1% or less.
Right.
So, have you guys seen if you've seen a lift, what sort of lift? Yeah, it varies by seller, of course.
Sure, and it does. And typically with questions like that, I like to refer to, I mean, the founding team. I mean, Kibly is a software that's made and owned by Amazon sellers. Mm-hmm. The founding team are Amazon sellers first and foremost, and so their particular businesses, which they have multiple of, and they had actually developed Kibly for, they tailor-made it for their particular business. How it's affected their business is kind of our ultimate reference point. And of course, there are plenty of customer testimonials, you can check out on Kibly.com, to kind of see the different kinds of impacts that it makes. But generally, with the founding team's Amazon businesses, we're talking 5 to 8x times more reviews than they were actually using similar softwares that were out there. Because Kibly is not the first of its kind, but in a way it is kind of an answer to, according to the founding team and everybody, they wanted to create something that they knew would work for them. And sure enough, it ended up working very well for their own businesses. And then they also, as a result, wanted to make it available, for other sellers to benefit from as well. But yeah, I mean, a massive increase, and they sell high volume. I mean, I can't divulge what products or the name of the business or anything to protect the innocent, but it made a huge impact on their business, and that's what really inspired the team to make Kibly publicly available.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's breaks and all. I think that's a pretty good summary of the 3 emails and what we do in each one.
Cool.
And like, if there was, is there a reason that there's 3? Is 4 too much communication? What's your take?
Sure. Yeah. That's a great question, actually. And of course, now there's much more power in the customer's hands, being able to unsubscribe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't mention that, but yeah, they can unsubscribe from their email, so all the more reason not to piss them off. Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, there are, for a while, a lot of people were saying like Amazon review software is on its way out now because customers can unsubscribe. However, that's actually not true at all. What's actually beneficial about it is the fact that, you have basically 2 types of customers, right? You have the type that appreciate having connections with the people that they buy from, and the people who just hate getting emails, period, right? So generally, when a customer was unable to unsubscribe from seller messaging, and they got, and they're just that type of person that just does not want to hear it, right? No matter what, even if they like the product.
And they're already like that. Like, it's not like a nice message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but bombarding them with more information and more emails is only going to motivate them to do something bad, right? They're gonna want to leave you a bad feedback, just because, like, it's that's just the kind of person they are. These people exist by the thousands, right? So what giving them the ability to unsubscribe is actually amazing, because now you no longer need to bother them with anything, and and you no longer can bother them with anything, so that they otherwise would just remain silent, in their
and angry
curmudgeonness, and instead, you're spared from getting any kind of just unwarranted negative feedback because of that. And on the other token, sellers that do a great job communicating with their customers, are still doing a great job, because they have good quality customers, and of course it's never 100% of the case, but you do want to look for quality in your customers, in the same way that you want to have quality in your product. So this unsubscribe thing has actually been a good way to really compartmentalize and know who's real and who's not, and who are the people you want to connect with and who should you avoid. So yeah, I mean, that's really what it's proven by Amazon implementing that ability. And I honestly think it's a positive thing for sellers. So anyone who is despaired about that, I mean, I understand adjusting to it is definitely taxing, in a way, because you get all these kickbacks, from Amazon because they've unsubscribed. But the kickbacks are not a penalty. They're literally just a result of, Amazon just redirecting your email and letting you know that they unsubscribed. And in that case, and within Kibly, of course, you can unsubscribe those people as well, so you're not sending them any more emails anyways.
Right. Okay. Good. And so, could you actually do 4 and then get better results in terms of the people who do like the emails, or is 3 just like, it's enough to weed out the people who don't want them, people who do will review, like?
Sure. I mean, sending out 3 is just really obeying a rule of averages, right. And it's what's been split tested, very consistently and very extensively in Kibly's founding team, right, and their Amazon businesses. So that's what's worked for them, and it does work for a lot of our users. Now, of course, there are variables, and that is why Strategy is important, right? Testing. Kibly actually does offer a email split testing feature, which should definitely not be underutilized. I think split testing, especially when you're dealing with anything in internet marketing, is one of the most important tools. And it's the best way to get real data that works, because you can now reference between sending two different types of emails, what's actually converting better than the other. You find out what's working and you just double down on that, and then maybe introduce something else to test. And then, it just allows the experimentation process to continue. And it allows you to gather the most effective data with that. I mean, experimentation it's a little scary. I understand, when it comes to selling online, because you don't want to risk losing business in order to collect data, right? And this is exactly why split testing is very important, because you can take something that already works, and then bring about something that you feel like may work better, and actually really test it out. You can A/B the two. So yeah, I mean, you could split test even sending 4 emails compared to 3. That's entirely possible. And of course, it's case by case. So it really all depends. But as far as the 3 email sort of standard, that's just really been from our personal experience in moving thousands of products, sending thousands and thousands of emails, what has worked most effectively for us.
Yeah. Good. Okay, great. And I guess, yeah, I don't know. That's all my questions. That's really the sequence in a nutshell. Did you want to add anything? Did you have anything?
Sure. I mean, we can start going into these slides if you'd like. Just to kind of talk just a little bit about Kibly, what it's all about, and really why it exists.
You got the screen share going? Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And here we go. Awesome. My masterful slideshow, brought to you by Google Slides. So of course, what is Kibly and why does it exist, right? So the first thing that we do like to mention what Kibly is not, which seems counterintuitive, but bear with me here. Kibly is not the first of its kind. It's certainly not the biggest of its kind, and it doesn't even have the most features of its kind. So then, okay, why would you really care about that, right? What we do have uniquely to us is not just understanding, the customer connection, but understanding the strategy that is involved to bring in more reviews, more feedback, and ultimately more sales. And how we actually do that is we use, internet marketing tactics, world-leading copywriting, because our complete and sole dedication, as it says here, is to the strategy of getting positive reviews within Amazon's guidelines, and focusing on reviews as opposed to just feedback. I mean, getting positive feedback really is easy by comparison. When you're focusing on getting positive reviews, it actually organically leads to positive feedback and more sales. And of course, Amazon sellers being members of the founding team that continue to sell at Amazon, like their Amazon businesses are still going, and they still continue to use Kibly. So they're always on top of, they do want to remain on the cutting edge, as far as having Kibly maintain, bringing in more reviews, more feedback, more sales, because it obviously has to work out for their businesses first and foremost, and so just by virtue of that, it applies to our other users. So what really, brings it in, as we had talked about a little bit, is we have these, our email templates that are totally customizable, but are meant to keep that strong customer connection. I've mentioned also we have the one-click default email scheduler, so that you don't necessarily have to go through the exhaustive experimentation process. You can just leverage ours and just use the email scheduler that we have set up. And as I mentioned before, we really want to apply real, tactics in internet marketing and for copywriting to create, the best kind of conversation. And we want to be able to compel your customers to want to support your business and leave you those positive reviews. And that would also lead to positive seller feedback, repeat buyers, and of course, more new buyers as well. And of course, the reason Kibly was created, which we had mentioned, I had mentioned a little bit before, it is already made up of Amazon sellers. They all have backgrounds in selling online. They understand the customer connection, and they understand that when it comes to generating sales, you got to start with generating reviews. And they had tried their hand at similar softwares that were out there and realized that in order to make something that worked out the best for them, they needed to create their own. And then when it gave us, 5 to 8 times the amount of reviews that they were getting previously, they realized, we need to share this with everybody else because that's the right thing to do, and of course, anyone who wants to learn more, you can check out Kibly.com. We do offer a 14-day free trial for new users who want to test it out. We do indeed have a sexy affiliate program. I'm really excited about that because we just implemented this. We offer girl signups, flat for each new sign up. Pretty cool. And of course, we have a great support team, support@Kibly.com. If you want to message in with any questions or any kind of, or just want to say hi, whatever it is. We love people. So any kind of, like I said, it's all about the connection. So if you want to make a connection with us, that's the best way to do it. And I am only allowed to show just a tiny bit here, but I'm going to show, this is a screenshot of the upcoming new Kibly makeover. It's getting a complete new aesthetic and layout that we're very, very excited about. It's one of the prettiest looking in the business right now, and this is in the pipeline. I can't really divulge any more information than that, but that's what we got going on right here. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And yeah, Eddie, I'll send you the link when it's up. Thanks so much for joining us.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Patrick. Anytime, man.